Hey, good morning, everyone. Happy Monday morning to you, and welcome back to Morning Musings. Hope you had a fantastic weekend. My wife and I took a little trip. We decided to get out of town, so to speak. Just took a drive right straight up I-35 and went to Wichita, Kansas. I used to live in a little community called Derby, Kansas, but just decided to go to Wichita, Kansas. It was great just to spend the day together. It's always great when I can spend a day with my wife. I can tell you that. Okay, well, we continue our discussion now of the Olivet Discourse, and here we are at 170 or 171 videos. And I told you, I warned you, that a proper study of the Olivet Discourse is an involved thing. And believe you me, I'm still leaving out an awful lot of stuff. But I'm trying to give enough of a solid exegetical base so that you can see the proper approach to the book, or more appropriately, to the discourse. And let me say once again, a proper understanding of the Olivet Discourse is essential for a proper understanding of biblical eschatology. Jesus draws on the Old Testament, and the New Testament writers draw on the Olivet Discourse. And obviously, the Olivet Discourse is Jesus' most extensive teaching on eschatology. Pardon me. When we realize, therefore, and if we come to realize, therefore, that the Olivet Discourse is not talking about the end of the Christian age, it's not talking about the end of time, it's not talking about the end of the, quote, Christian enterprise, it's not talking about the end of the time-space continuum. It is talking about the end of the Old Covenant age, the age of Moses and the law, the age that was represented and symbolized by the temple. And let's face it, folks, the temple at Jerusalem did not represent the time-space continuum. The temple at Jerusalem did not represent the age of Messiah and the new covenant. Pardon me. It did not represent the age of the church. It represented one age, and that was the age of Moses and the law. Pardon me. So if and when we come to realize that is the focus of the discussion of Jesus and the apostles' questions, it will change our entire approach to the study of eschatology. It will change our view of 1 Corinthians 15, 1 Thessalonians 4, the book of Revelation. It is absolutely essential that we understand what Matthew 24 and 25 is discussing, and that we realize what it is not discussing. Now, spent a couple of weeks sharing with you, or a couple of videos, the statement in Matthew chapter 24 and 28, in which Jesus said, where the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered. There will be the vultures, more literally and more accurately. The word eagles there is from the Greek word aitos, and it's not a golden eagle. It is a bird, not a bird of prey, but a bird of carrion. That's important. So go back and watch those videos. I think you'll see how important it is. Some people think that's just almost a statement of Jesus in passing. But no, it has tremendous power behind it. Now notice verse 29. Immediately after the tribulation of those days. Okay, let's just stop right there. What days? Immediately after the tribulation of those days. Now, if we're going to honor the grammar of the text, and it's absolutely appalling how some former preterists are abusing the grammar of Matthew 24, but that's to be discussed later. the grammar of the text demands that we look in the verses previous to verse 29 for the reference to those days. And for simplicity's sake and for time's sake, it is a tribulation that, number one, is directly and inextricably tied with the appearance of the abomination of desolation. So you have the abomination of desolation, and then you have the great tribulation. It would be in those days in which people were to flee, to hope their flight would not be on the Sabbath. Pray that your flight not be in the winter. Pray that it would be when women were not pregnant and nursing their children. For then when the days of the abomination of desolation. Now watch this. In earlier videos, I established that point number one, the abomination of desolation is not something committed by pagans. The abomination of desolation is, the literal rendering of it is, the abomination that brings desolation. The abomination, in other words, the sin that brings desolation. And that means, that virtually demands that the abomination of desolation was some sin or sins committed by Israel. Deuteronomy 28 to 30, Leviticus chapter 26, other passages as well, point out to us that it was Israel's sin that would always bring desolation on her. It is a covenantal context. And if we ignore that covenantal context of the abomination of desolation, in other words, Israel violating Torah, that's the abomination. Some heinous abomination that goes, shall we say, above and beyond the normal sins. That abomination would lead then to the Great Tribulation, or the tribulation not on the world. It's not tribulation on the globe. It is judgment on Israel. Just recently on YouTube, a man posted a challenge, and he said the AD 70 judgment of Israel was not a covenantal judgment. Prove it wrong. Well, in the first place, he made the affirmative statement saying it's not a covenantal judgment. He had to prove that it was not. Didn't even try, by the way. When some of us chimed in and gave proof that it was a covenantal judgment, this individual completely deserted the discussion, abandoned it. Everything about the abomination, everything about the tribulation has to do with Israel. When you see the abomination of desolation, let the one who's on the rooftops not come down. That's the land of Israel. The abomination is in the land of Israel. That means that the tribulation is focused on, doesn't mean it didn't have any peripheral effect outside, but it was focused on, centered on Israel. So what all of this means, all right, what all of this means is, verse 29, immediately after the abomination of desolation, which leads to the tribulation, immediately after the tribulation, the sun will be darkened, the moon will not give its light, the stars of heaven shall be shaken. Pardon me. This has nothing to do with a literal, physical, cosmic, physical event. And we will demonstrate that as we continue. So I will see you on the flip side. Oh, by the way, don't forget the 3-book special. It's ending at the end of December. Daniel chapter 12, Like Father, like Son on Clouds of Glory, Blast from the Past. By the way, some orders are on back order because I ran out, but I should have some books here this week. So go ahead and order. Go to my website, donkpreston.com, BibleProphecy.com. There's a tab right up top, a banner. Just click on it. Go ahead and order, and I'll be mailing out orders this week. Okay, thanks for joining me for this morning's Morning Musings. I'll see you on the flip side.